Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. Thank you, Dr. Barr, for being here as well. Having me come back to Lone Star has been an incredible experience. It's been 10 years, and so we're going to talk about some of those 10 years today. So as you can tell, as me being an academic, I'm a professor. I like to also have fun, so it's a little bit different of a presentation today. But before we get started, just with a show of hands, who here plays chess daily? Okay, keep your hands up. Who has played chess at least once in your life? Okay, we got more hands. If you don't play chess, do you know somebody in your personal life who plays? Okay, a few more. And then if you don't play chess at all, don't know anybody, have you at least seen Queen's Gambit? I think everybody, right? So the one thing I love about chess is it's kind of like this hidden game, this hidden sort of topic between people. A lot of people don't talk about it. So we're going to dive into why that is today. But I definitely encourage all of you to, connect with somebody else through the game today. So if you have a friend here, if you have a colleague, invite them to a game. If you don't know how to play, find somebody to teach you. Or teach yourself and then teach other people. So when we think of chess, there's a lot of words that come to mind. So I want to hear from you. Just shout out one word that you would use to describe chess. Smart. What? Sicilian. Okay, smart, Sicilian. What else? Amazing. The rook. What else?
Jadoube.
Strategy. Okay, Jadoube. Difficult. Okay, so there's a lot of similarities, though, with these answers, right? Like chess is this kind of tough, smart people kind of game. And the thing to kind of tell you about that is it's not quite true, okay? So I'm going to share in a little bit the one word that I think chess really is and how it almost connects with life. And so one of the things about chess, and you hear this all the time, is life is like a game of chess. And then they hit you with another quote after that. The pawn and the king go in the same box at the end of the game. My favorite one is, I don't know how to play chess. And I think that also mimics life because as human beings, we also don't really understand what it means to be. What does it mean to live life? So part of chess's stereotype of being for smart people really is good for business, right? I can sell parents and coaches and programs on like how amazing it is for the kids. And I do believe in it. There's a lot of great research. But then it creates distance between those of you who don't really play, who have these perceptions about what chess actually is, as being this hard thing to do. Yet I have 4-year-olds who I coach who play, and I have 90 to 100-year-olds who play chess. And I'm pretty sure with just that statement, you probably feel a little more capable in your life than a 4-year-old at least. So we're going to dive into a little bit about my chess story because it actually begins with the same kind of feeling. I thought chess was hard. I didn't think I'd be smart enough to play, but I was 6 years old. And that really reflected my external world at home, my social circle, because 6-year-olds have those in kindergarten. And I remember seeing some neighbors playing chess in their tree house, and I was like, okay, not only am I not smart enough to play chess, I'm also not going to grow tall enough to climb that tree and play with them. So my chess story is a little bit about the magic of chess, the growth that it can give, and how there's value in community. Because chess isn't just about the pieces and the positions, it's actually about people. And that's going to be one of the main themes today that you're going to see. So my chess journey really began in 4th grade at 9 years old. I got my letter to Hogwarts, which was an invitation to play wizard's chess. So if you've seen the movie, you've read the book, it's really cool. You see these chess pieces battling it out with like swords and shields, knights jumping over rooks, taking out kings, stealing the queen, all these amazing moments of adventure. And so chess transported me from the hardship of my life into this realm that I just never wanted to leave. And the funny thing is, I didn't actually play chess again until high school. So there was a 5-year gap, but that magic was still there. And that experience, as we talk about loss, right, there was a lot of it for me in high school. The first year I started really playing chess with a friend, I was beaten well over 1,000 times. And I'm not joking. It didn't matter where it was, the cafeteria and the principal's office when I got in trouble and I was still playing, even on the bus with like those magnetic sets where like the pieces are bouncing around and you lose them all. And one day, believe it or not, it was snowing, Southeast Texas. And instead of going to school, we decided, hey, let's skip. We didn't know that they were going to release students to the football stadium and throw snowballs and have fun. But we do what chess players do. We'd rather stay inside and play a good game of chess, right? It's adventurous. And on that day, I bet you're thinking I won. I didn't. But I kind of won in a weird way because in the game of chess, you can win, you can lose, or you can draw. You can share sort of a victory and a loss together. So I got my first draw after a year. So thousands of losses. I'm now at this pivotal moment. It felt like a win, but really what it signaled was I was excited that I didn't lose. And that once again, that sort of subconscious feeling that emerged really reflected, once again, my self-identity, my confidence beyond the chessboard. The worst part about this story, though, is that my opponent, my friend who was teaching me chess, my rival, my arch nemesis on the chessboard, he was playing blindfolded. So he wasn't even looking at the chessboard. So we had an accidental position where, for those who play chess, you know what stalemate is. And to me, it was the greatest victory of my life. But I had this moment of growth where I was like, okay, I've been playing for a year. I've lost over 1,000 games. How did I even get to this point of an accidental draw, which was a win in my books? And then I realized, as I had been playing chess for the past year, and the conversations I was having with other students who were in the program from all different backgrounds, cultural, jocks, cheerleaders, debate team, anybody you could think of were in this club, and we weren't just talking about chess, we were talking about life. We were talking about what was going on and how we could problem solve to get out of the situations that we were in. It's kind of cool because once chess club ended, like everybody went to their corners and nobody knew each other in the hallways. But we had chess before and after school as the connecting game. And so over the years, my chess story has evolved into understanding what value it has for community. I've gotten to work with programs to teach students English over in Spain. I've done work with school districts on literacy scores, trying to boost students' ability to read using chess language, chess notation. I've worked with populations that are remote and indigenous. I've worked with substance abuse groups. Oh gosh, there's so many. Rehabilitation centers, prisons, senior homes, senior communities, and probably most dear to me are US veterans. Chess is an incredible adaptive sport for those veterans who have physical disabilities or limitations. And I've gotten to work with thousands of veterans through the Department of Veterans Affairs, putting on events. So when I say like chess is really about people, it is. Even though for us who study the game to try to get better, to beat everybody, which is a very isolating experience, it still comes back to people. And I would be doing a disservice if I said, thank you for the presentation, chess is amazing, go play, have fun. But it wasn't so clear from my chess story at the board to my life story. So in chess, for those who play, they know what this means. So what does Jadoube mean for anybody who plays or speaks French? Adjust, right? Adjust. It means I adjust. So when we're playing a game of chess, when you touch a piece, you have to move it. But sometimes you look at the board, things get a little crazy, pieces don't fit exactly the way they should, and then you need to kind of fix it. Like your OCD or something kicks in and you're like, this is bothering my eyes. But it's actually this moment of reflection. It's a pause. It's before you're making a decision, you're kind of making sure your next step is correct. And the way that Jadoube really manifested for me was it was a concept of adjusting on the chessboard, but then off the chessboard, it sort of became personified. It became this idea of, regardless of the situation that I'm in, I can adjust. And that's really what my life was over the past 10 years. You see, when I was 18, I became homeless. 19, I had to drop out of my first year of college. I couldn't afford school, my grades were slipping, I was barely getting by, I was couch surfing. Life for me, at least, was pretty bad because at first I was like, well, man, I'm a statistic. And then I was like, oh gosh, I'm like 3 statistics. And now being older, I'm like, we're all statistics. But I really had to figure life out. So I kind of had the devil in the crossroads moment of what do I do in life? I love chess. and I just can't escape the chessboard. But then I also want to do all these other things. I want to be an astronaut and like study medicine, and you just can't do it all. You kind of have to pick your adventure and start from there. And so one day in the mail, I get a postcard that says, "Start close, go far, Lone Star College-Kingwood." And the faculty members here are laughing because that whole campaign, when I first got it, I was like, scam, right? Like there's no way like I can pay for school, it's that close, and it's going to send me far. Well, I was completely wrong in all of that. I took a class online in 2014 during winter break. It was online, but interpersonal communication. I'm still trying to figure that one out. Got my credit, and then I took Professor Davis's course, Art Appreciation, and then Drawing 1 and Drawing 2, and then Air Force ROTC, and within a year, I'd taken like a year and a half or so like worth of credits. And during that process, I was still homeless. I had to figure out how to take my little church job, barely getting by, to pay for classes because that's supposedly what I was supposed to do in order to better myself. And I think part of it was true. But the important part about that story was I had to accept some adventure into the unknown. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how I was going to pay for school after my associate's degree. And so part of this unknown is what makes adventure adventure. It's what gives the spark to transformation. So over the year, I graduate with my Associate of Arts. I was so excited. I was like, I've got this paper that says I'm somebody. But I was still between a rock and a hard place. I still had things that I was fearing inside of my life. I didn't know what to do next. I thought it would all be figured out, and it wasn't. And so between myself 10 years ago to just a couple years ago, there was a lot of self-work, a lot of transformation, a lot of Jadoube moments where I had to adjust constantly, and it was uncomfortable. When I graduated from Lone Star College, I got rejected by many universities. They even told me, you're not worth the risk. And I was like, what do you mean I'm not worth the risk? I went through all this ordeal, and then I overcame them, and I became somebody, and now I have this piece of paper that says, hey, like, I've done 2 years, let me do 2 more at your university and become somebody. That rejection really set me back. I had this sort of like identity crisis moment. And then I had to choose, well, what's your next adventure, right? What are you going to do? One university, thousands of miles away, and this is that go far piece. I didn't realize how far Lone Star was going to send me. I went to Alaska, the only school out of the whole US that said, we'll take a chance on you. So they did. And across 4 years, I ended up earning my bachelor's, I earned my master's. But the funny thing about the story is I didn't know anybody there. I didn't have friends. I didn't have a job. I had to quit my job, actually, to go. I didn't know how I was going to pay for more than a semester of school. So I get there, and then I'm like, wow, there's no chess. Like, why did I come all the way out here and there's no chess? So I started with the smallest thing I could, start a club. I got a student job. The club turned into a team a year later. I coached the team. We went to nationals, the first collegiate chess team from Alaska. We got our butts kicked. The next year, we won a top small school national award. I'm now working 6 part-time jobs to not only pay for school, I'm also paying for the team, I'm funding it. And then I helped build a local nonprofit for chess, then a statewide foundation, and then an organization during COVID to make sure that students who were in Title I schools had access to enrichment programs. And I didn't do this alone. I had other people who I connected through the community with. And then eventually I became the state delegate, the representative of Alaska for the whole US to make changes to legislation and fight for those community members who are playing chess and make sure they're taken care of. I was a big fish in a small pond. And that's when I realized something has to change because I still needed more growth. There were skills I was missing, things I wanted to experience, and I had this big thing that I was facing. Part of my crisis identity was that I was rejected from the #1 collegiate chess team in the US, not necessarily from the team, but the university. And I wanted to go back. So I did. I applied for my doctorate at Webster University, and I was like, hey, 7 years ago, you told me I wasn't good enough. Look at me now. And here's what I can do for you. And I knew that they were interested in building a chess program, but they didn't know how. They didn't have the skills. And during those 7 years, my odyssey, I spent doing everything I possibly could to prepare the skills and for the moment for that to come, something I dreamed about before Lone Star, and the moment arrived. And so I was tapped on the shoulder to build it during my Doctor of Education degree in Transformative Learning. And now I'm graduated, I'm a professor of the program, we're launching this internationally with Uzbekistan. And so I'm now here today, almost on this return of this journey, sharing with you my story. And we're going to talk about what is personal transformation. What does it mean in an academia sense? What does it mean during a chess game? And we're going to talk about what map and compass chess actually is as a guide to life. So the chess hero's journey, it's kind of a spin on the hero's journey. For those of you who are academics or you like reading mythology, you might be familiar with Dr. Campbell's work from The Hero of a Thousand Faces and many other great books. The idea is simple. The human story has something about it that calls us to something higher, some sort of adventure beyond ourselves, something bigger. I think we've all felt that in one point or another. I've got to do something, right? And so the hero's journey is 12 stages, so I kind of add in some 12 stages of a chess game to connect with those who do play chess, but to show how life is like a game of chess. So we start with the first stage, the ordinary world. This is your comfort zone. This is what you know. This is where you've been. These are the people you know all your life. These are your beliefs. Everything you possibly know that's within your identity is here. The funny thing about the ordinary world is there's only one other option. It becomes unordinary. Like, things change. It's not comforting anymore. And that's the call to adventure. That's that little spark in you that says, hey, I got to do something. I got to get out of here, right? Kind of have like cabin fever with my life. And part of the call to adventure in a chess game is the opening moves, right? You're called to play. And you may not know exactly what's going on and where it's going, but it commences. With the call to adventure, we have what's called the refusal. Not everybody refuses the call to adventure. Some of you are a little more adventurous. Some of you, it takes a little bit longer. But you have the option, accept or decline the call. The funny thing with most stories is when you refuse the call to adventure, the thing that you know you should be doing, things get worse, right? It compounds. Whatever it is, whether you know you need to be studying for a test and you're putting it off and then finally exam happens and things just get worse and you know you should have studied. Or maybe bigger things in life. But at some point, the circumstances push you towards accepting the call. And along that journey, you end up meeting a mentor. So mine was Professor Davis while I was here. But yours might be spiritual. It might be based on religion. It might be a better version of you or a different version of you you're trying to find, you're trying to unlock within yourselves. And in chess, we use that as the classics. We study historical games. We learn from other chess players who are much more wise than us so that when we're in our chess games, we can say, okay, what would Bobby Fischer do, right? And try to come up with some sort of response in a difficult position. And this leads us out of the initiation of the hero's journey into what's called the departure. You reach a crossing. The crossing of the threshold where your mentor can't go with you. Virgil has to say, okay, Dante, good luck. You've got this. Can't come with you. Same thing, Yoda, Star Wars. Anything you can possibly think of, at some point in your journey, you have to take the step by yourself, right? Take the training wheels off. The thing is most people get caught on this, and they don't progress in sort of their transformative journey because of that dissonance, the uncertainty of, well, who's going to be there for me? What am I going to be tested on? What do I have to face? Oh my gosh, that one thing I'm just trying to ignore. You know what's on the other side. But you're not going to get the allies that you need. You're not going to know who your enemies are unless you dive in and you cross the threshold. So in chess, we transfer from the opening into the middle game. We're in the thick of it. It's chaotic. We're trying to figure everything out. We feel like everything is going so fast and we're barely hanging on. The funny thing is when you're lost in the middle of the woods, you're halfway in, you're halfway out somewhere. Just go a different direction. It doesn't really matter. And doing that, you're going to find out who's supporting you along your journey, who's not. And you're going to have tests, and you're going to fail them a lot. I can't express that enough. 1,000 chess games for me to get to the point of, oh, wow, I didn't lose this time. For you, it may not be 1,000 times, and I doubt it would be. So we get the middle game, and as we get deep into these woods, we reach the innermost cave, which is ourself. This is something connected, maybe Dr. Jung, who would say that you have a shadow within you, you have something that you've repressed, but there's something within you that is emanating light. There's truth to it. You have to address whatever this thing is. It's your truth. It's your bones you got to dig up within yourself to be able to continue forward. And by doing that, you can then equip yourself for what's to come. And part of what's to come, at least in the chess sense, is we're transitioning from the middle to the end game. We're trying to understand what advantages and disadvantages do we have, and what sort of acceptance point is there for us, and what sort of resources are there for us to be able to put up this last fight, this final fight against what they call the ordeal. It's like the final boss for those who play video games. But in the innermost cave, you're going to be equipped. It may be a sword and shield. It may be a magical staff. It may be clarity. It could be a revelation that you needed in order to face whatever it is. In most cases, the ordeal is ourselves. We just can't get over ourselves because we're hanging on to something in the past. Maybe it's a tyrant boss you work with, and you're like, man, I really got to show them. Maybe the ordeal is something a little bit deeper, closer to home. Maybe there's something wrong with a loved one. Whatever it is, you have to face the ordeal. If not, the monster is going to get bigger, it's going to get scarier, and then you're going to find that you're not equipped enough to be able to deal with it. And I don't know where you end up on your adventure, but it's not in a good place. So in this ordeal, the thing that you've been putting off, right, that called you into this adventure, it's now finally in front of you, and what do? You should adjust to it, face it, because you are going to get through it. It's not really a matter of if, it's when, and maybe a little bit of how that you don't know. So in some cases, Dr. Peterson, he likes to talk about the dragon, slaying the dragon as the big ordeal and getting the gold from it as the reward, and the process of what it takes to get to that point of being able to slay your dragon in your life. The funny thing about the reward, though, is in chess we have win, draw, loss. In the case of the dragon, it's gold, but it wouldn't be much of a journey if it stopped there. You got the thing that you kind of wanted, right? Oh, okay, I want this gold from the dragon, and I'll be rich, etc. But that's not the only spot. You have to return back from the dragon's lair. You got to take the road back. In chess, that road back after we lose is post-mortem analysis. We're trying to figure out what we did wrong, what we did right, and the process to figure out how can we be better? What did we learn? How are we different than when we started? So what, we got the gold. So what, we got the win. If you're not learning from it, you're not really transforming. And this is the part that I think is very special about this process. When you drop your ego and you're able to go through those hardships, reliving those memories, the traumatic experiences, the triumphs, you then become resurrected. You're transformed in the process because you have a different identity, a different version of you. All of you who are here right now, you're not the same person you were 20 minutes ago, just outside this room, because you've learned some new things. And so when we leave here, we're going to be a little bit different then, and tomorrow, and the next day. I'm pretty sure every chess player in here who's played a game and they've analyzed it, I don't think they've walked away feeling a worse chess player. They learned something from it. So on that resurrection, we're going to return back home to the ordinary world. The problem is we don't belong anymore. We're that person who's kind of like that outcast. We're a little bit different. We've changed. Who's heard that before in their life? You've changed. What happened? And I think that's the beautiful part about it, is because everything is constantly changing. Everything is transforming. We just don't see it in sort of big moments. It's very rare, right? Maybe you slay a dragon and it's wow, that one time I slayed the dragon. But it's small changes. It's showing up to class. It's passing your exams. It's making better chess moves. It's studying. It's going through all these processes to try to become a better human being in your own version of your world. And then that return isn't just about you having the reward. It's about sharing it with others, your community. And that's a special part. In chess, we do that by taking our games, we upload them online, or we talk with other players after our game. So we give them tips and tricks for them to be able to beat us. Now, that's after the game. We don't do that before the game because we want to win. But we try to make everybody else better in the process of it. So I promised you about the map and the compass, about the chessboard. How's this going to help you navigate personal transformation? So you can see here a chess game is going on fairly quickly. What do you actually see here in the video, though? So just tell me what you see. Speed chess. Okay, what else? Random moving pieces. What? They're thinking. Okay, 2 players. Let's get like more specific. What's like right there in front of you? What do you see? Pawn. Time. Okay, time. So let's kind of build from this. We have elements within a chessboard, right? And we're trying to connect this back to life, this idea that life is like a game of chess. In chess, the map is going to be the board. It's the environment that you're familiar with. There's places, there's spaces. We can name all of those. We know where things are. The compass has all these other elements that give you some sense of direction. That's going to be the pieces. That's going to be the characteristics of those pieces. How do they move? How do they interact? You mentioned time. We have universal time that we're all on right now, right? Like, we're all here for this time, for this presentation, but then you have your own time. How quickly are you moving in life? How are you making your moves? Did it take you 2 moves to get to the point you wanted, or 12? Then you have rules. For those who play, you know what I'm talking about. You touch a piece, you move it, right? Unless you say, what word? Jadoube, to adjust the piece. But then we have what you don't see. Principles. The cultural beliefs, the ideologies that we have on the chessboard to help supposedly get us to a better position. And sometimes those principles that we follow blindly in the chess game, like castling too early, can get you checkmated still, despite your king is supposed to be safe. So from this, these principles, the rules, the environment, the boundaries, the characters, and how they're maneuvering around in this world really kind of sets a tone for, okay, I can see how this might be very societal. So let's say you have this map and compass, right? You're learning how to play chess. You understand the rules, the principles, how the pieces move, and you're like, all right, now I'm going to go out in the world and I'm going to win life. Well, we need to take a step back because we need to understand when we say life is like a game of chess, are we saying that life is a game? Are we saying that a game is equivalent to life? Chess and life are both perfect information games. Now that might sound a little weird because a perfect information game means you have all the information in front of you. In chess, there's supposedly more moves in a game than there are atoms in the known universe. Yet we're able to figure out what's going on in chess from assessing positions, listening to mentors, reading the classics, getting some experience, and coming up with the best possible move without knowing 1,000 moves ahead. But then we kind of struggle on the life side of figuring out what to do. The reason is because chess is what's called a closed system. So it's an isolated experience, as it should be, unless there's interference in the game, in which the only thing being transmitted out from the game is energy. What moves were played? What did the players decide? What was the result? Whereas in life, you have a constant interaction always ongoing, energy and matter, and it's really hard to find the direct link to what's going on in life. Whereas in chess, we can say, hey, I'll move 37, you push that pawn and game over after 4 hours. So we have this set of perfect information game. We have the closed system, which is a little bit easier to understand what's going on within it, and we're able to practice within that. Chess is a game that we can constantly fail forward in. You can make mistakes, you can reset up the position or the pieces and try again. You can discover truth from assessing and analyzing positions as long as you want, as long as you have time on the clock. And ultimately, there's accountability we're practicing. Every single thing that happens in a game, regardless of your opponent, it's your fault. Whether you saw the move, you didn't see the move. Whether you studied the right game or you didn't study the right game. Whether you're playing in your game and you're thinking the errands that you have to do, and after 2 hours in the game, you make a blunder, you make a mistake, and you lose, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm terrible at chess. All of it is accountable. So what am I really saying here about chess and transformation, and how is this actually going to improve your life? Well, what I'm saying is life is like a game of chess. I'm not saying life is chess. I'm not saying chess is life. It's like a game of chess. But with that comes a really big thing to remember as part of your transformation, as part of your adjustment, which is this is your adventure. And from a game of chess, we can deliberately practice skills and try different things. But once we step away from the chessboard, life is real, right? Like, as far as we know, we kind of have this one life. Depending on your beliefs, you might have others. And we're not going to get everything right all the time. We don't have the time. We don't have the resources. So what do? You find something like I did, chess, which transported me from the ordinary world on my hero's journey. And along the way, I had to take moments of stepping away from the chessboard to play life. I had to figure some things out. And so for you, whether it's music, whether it's fitness, whether it's service to others, whatever it is that you have a passion for doing, that you can connect with other people in, stick to it. Don't let that go. But in the process of it, I want you to think about how you're experiencing transformation in your life. How are you adjusting? If I were to ask you, what is your quest? What are the side quests you're on today, this week, this month? You could probably list some of those. And from there, you figure out what you need to do, how you need to adjust to be able to achieve it. And so, with that being said, today, take some time to connect with somebody, play some chess, talk about the game, explore it. Be excited for the things that go really well and the things that don't go well. Lose 1,000 times. And in the process of it, just remember to make your moves count and take a break, step away from the chessboard, and live life, because that's the only way you're going to experience transformation. So, thank you.